we believe, for example, that the usage actually of our technology is going to dramatically simplify, in fact, the validation, the mining, in fact, of the transactions, that actually the backbone of blockchain, cryptocurrency, it's one of the application of blockchain.
My next guest is Francis Bellido. He is the president and CEO of Quantum Emotion.
Yes,
okay.
Exactly.
What is the business of Quantum Emotion?
So the business of Quantum Emotion is actually to develop and eventually commercialize what we call our next generation of cryptographic solutions based on one particular technology. It's called a quantum random number generator.
Okay,
and randomness, it's, as you know, it's at the core. It's the cornerstone, or actually all the encryption keys that ensure, security over communications, in particular over the internet.
Sure. So then this is I assume, a random number generated by a quantum computer?
No, it's not generated by a quantum computer. It's generated by actually the exploitation of some of the quantum, quantum mechanics properties. And that randomness is extremely important, as you're to use it, because again, it's the backbone of encryption keys.
Yes.
Because, it's very important that how you communicate your encryption keys, that produce signals, are no connection one way or another, because if there is, any connection, you can predict what's going to be the next signal, and you can basically steal it,
Sure. So
randomness is extremely important, as, is probably the most important component of encryption. So unfortunately, it's extremely difficult, and this is what, maybe people, they're not familiar with encryption or cryptographic. It's very difficult actually to produce randomness. In nature, in fact, we're living in the world what we call that's surrounded by almost phenomena that are, predicted, in fact, by, classical physics.
Mm-hmm.
It's Newtonian physics, but they're all predictable. In fact, most of the things we see around us even have an element of determinism, and so they are a little bit predictable. The only way you can obtain a real pure random phenomenon is actually to rely on the property of quantum mechanics, quantum physics.
Okay, so then the purpose of the company is to improve security in the internet world then? Exactly.
Improve security and make actually communications over the internet, but this has a multitude of implications. Almost every vertical of the economy is in fact affected by cybersecurity. So the problem today is, as you probably know, it's becoming a huge problem. You can see almost every day on the news that there's been cyber criminality acts, that have been perpetrated all over the world, and particularly, of course, in countries that are wealthy and have a lot of money. So, and they can basically today almost reach anything. When that even the big American institutions are affected, by cyber criminal acts all the time. And it's becoming, actually used to be a nuisance, in the past, and I think today it's becoming a huge, actually, strategic question. Cybersecurity, and when you listen to most of the the heads of the states, and governments, in the Western world, they will always tell you almost that cybersecurity today, it's on the top of the list of their actually strategic thinking, and actions.
So then, is the business of the company then to create a technology that can be licensed to original equipment manufacturers, or ISPs or to manufacturers?
If you look at today, there is a lot of already, I would say, there's a lot of solutions out there. I mean, the cybersecurity industry is huge, and it's growing, every day. It's like, I think projections are, we talk about $240 billion, in the next few years, in terms of market for cybersecurity. And today, on top of that, everything is over communication over the cloud, so that means that, it's the security is not just having security on a piece of equipment or a computer, is really, in fact, how you communicate it, and criminality today, cyber criminality, it's basically manifests itself actually when you're trying to communicate, when you're trying to send information from your computer to another. This is always the weak point, is the transmission of somehow information over the internet. And today there's already actually a lot of encryption, that almost everything important that is transmitted from one computer to another. For example, your bank, when you communicated with your bank, in terms of doing transactions, for example, or even if you want to know how much money is left in your account, the communication is actually secured by a system of encryption. Okay, when you see your internet address, or a site, it's started by HTTP, but sometimes there's an S, and S means secured. Okay. Mm-hmm. And actually, when there's no S, you're basically means that somebody could easily probably crack or intervene in your transaction one way or another. So these security is usually ensured by through public what it's called the public keys crypto systems, like RSA, who is one of the most used in the world, that use very sophisticated encryption algorithm. Okay, so the problem with that is that the quality of this encryption rely actually on the quality of the random numbers that they use as a seed to create these encryptions. As I said before in my presentation, in our conversation, it's that unfortunately most of these random numbers are generated themselves by another algorithm, okay, that specializes in generating random numbers. So that means that algorithm generating random numbers means that they're deterministic, because there are sort of equations that are involved, in the creation of these random numbers. So they become, in fact, pseudo-random numbers. Sure. So the quality of the encryption keys, in fact, is not at the top of what it used to be. That's the reason why when you have cyber criminals that are putting their talent, and they are extremely talented people that devote themselves to cyber criminality, and they have the infrastructure to do it and the time, they be able to crack almost anything they want. And today, actually, I would say it's only probably there are a few criminal organizations that can really crack very complex, I would say, cyber security systems. The problem is that actually with the emergence of quantum computers, it's part of the realm of quantum technologies. We are one of them, but quantum computers is something that is actually, the development is finalizing today, and it is believed that in 4 or 5 years, quantum computers are going to become mainstream. So a quantum computer has the capacity to multiply by millions of times the power of calculation of our current computers. So they, in the wrong hands, if I may say so, these computers will be able to crack almost any encryption key. And this is the danger, the big danger, that if you look at the literature about what is important, today in terms of, cybersecurity and the big headaches coming, it's part also driven by the emergence actually of the quantum computers, who are going to make, in fact, cybersecurity really a big headache, and even sometimes create a situation of life and death, when they take, if you today, what happens, for example, last fall, in one of the water treatment plant in Florida, where they were able to get into the plant and change the parameters of purification. That means, and thanks God, they realize that, and they catch actually before it's starting to do some damage. But if that things happen and nobody even will know about it, you can actually starting to produce and poison, thousands of people.
Sure. So do you have customers now for this technology?
Well, our technology will be we're finalizing now the development is done. Now we are in the process to manufacture our first product. So before the end of the year, we should be able to have our first product based on this technology.
Okay, and so is the product then it's not a quantum computer?
No, it's a quantum numbers generator. It is a very tiny little component that would be able to get into in a chip, or that would be able to be put to be developed as a USB key that you will be able to transport it, and basically what the technology will do is actually create these pure random numbers that could in fact take part after that in the encryption systems that we use today already. But this time, you'll have encryption systems that are basically uncrackable.
Right.
Because the seed of the system is actually a pure random number.
Sure.
And it cannot be guessed.
Right. Okay. So then, is this got applications in the cryptocurrency world then?
Oh, absolutely. Because I have an article on my desk, where it says the most important things in blockchain, it's random numbers.
Right.
So blockchain is all about encryption. In fact, all the minings, the big work of validation, it's actually based on cryptology.
Yeah.
So we believe, for example, that the usage actually of our technology is going to dramatically simplify, in fact, the validation, the mining, in fact, of the transactions, that actually the backbone of blockchain. Cryptocurrency, it's one of the application of blockchain. So I think this is one of the projects we're starting to work on now. It's actually develop, our own, maybe even blockchain system.
Yeah.
Based actually on, that would be a quantum blockchain, basically.
Right. Okay, well, that's a great introduction to the company, Francis. We're going to leave it there for now, but we'll come back to you soon. And it sounds like you're really disrupting the quantum world or the cybersecurity world. Thank you very much for your time today.
It was a pleasure. Nice to meet you.
Thank you. You too. Bye for now.